know this is unauthorized?
My mother gave it to me for Christmas.
So in the very same year that James Bond was swanning about in the Bahamas, saving the world from total nuclear annihilation, no less, about 4,000 miles away in a grotty London flat, an ex-army sergeant is about to be taken off a mundane surveillance job and assigned the only marginally more glamorous role of investigating the brain drain of a group of British scientists. And here, Sir Michael Caine's Cockney ex-squaddy is the perfect yin to James Bond's yang. The strength of 1965's The Ipcress File lies in the fact that Agent Harry Palmer is a pretty ordinary guy in an ordinary world, although he does a pretty extraordinary job. Here he's a secret agent that wears kind of thick-rimmed glasses, lives in a little flat, drives a regular, pretty unglamorous car and treats his missions just like any 9-to-5 job, one that he has to do between shopping for groceries and cooking his dinner. Let's check it out. So plot-wise, the Ipcress File sees British intelligence agent Harry Palmer given a mission by his new boss Dalby, played by Caine's Zulu co-star Nigel Green, who's trying to recover a recently kidnapped scientist and also discover why hundreds of other scientists are suddenly disappearing or, bizarrely, seemingly becoming unable to function, their brains drained of knowledge. And not only is Harry up against some shady villains, but he also has to negotiate some shifty co-workers, especially Agent Jean Courtney, the lovely Sue Lloyd. She shows up at his flat to keep an eye on him.
How'd you get into this game?
My husband was in it. He was killed in Tokyo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You were bailed out of detention barracks.
Yes, I was.
There's also some American C.I.A. agents threatening to kill him for some reason, and when a piece of recording tape with nothing but odd noises turns up with the word Ipcress written on it, things become even more complicated than Harry could have imagined. So the Ipcress File's real trump card is in its casting. Michael Caine's kind of ordinariness, bless him, does ground everything in a reality that make the whole thing believable, even as the plot goes all psychedelic a little bit later on. Caine's kind of anti-authoritarian relationship with his superiors feels genuine, and I love that we get a glimpse into his life outside of his work, where his main excitement seems to come from perusing the supermarket shelves or cooking for a date. And Harry lives in a gritty and pretty gloomy non-swinging London, in a Notting Hill flat, before the area became the upmarket place it is today. And you won't find any of James Bond's exotic locations here, nor his stupendous stunts, crazy gadgets and gizmos. Harry Palmer's world is more around monotonous surveillance in grotty attics and grey-skied rendezvous on park benches, and even the villain's lair here is just a disused warehouse. You know, it's a far cry from lavish underground bases or secret volcano missile silos. And the film does a great job of convincing us, the audience, that spying is less about globe-trotting secret agents and more about filling in paperwork, digging through files, conducting surveillance, following suspects, etc., etc. The beauty of the Ipcress File, though, is that it makes this trip into the world of mundane espionage fascinating from start to finish. I love a meeting between Palmer and his boss in the new American-style supermarket Safeways, with Harry giving his superior tips on which food to buy and how to get the best deals between spy talk.
Beefaroni. Extraordinary.
I haven't seen you here before, sir.
No, well, I don't really care for these American shopping methods. One has to move with the times, I suppose.
Yes, that's very nice.
Is it really?
Guys, I'm Stephen at Real Classic Film Reviews. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen this spy classic and what you think of it. And hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with more discussions, updates, unboxings, and, of course, Real Classic Film Reviews. Now, a great deal's been made and written about, to be honest, Sidney J. Fury's direction of the Ipcress File. I know much of the frustration of his producers, he loved to use bizarre camera angles and pretty unusual, for the time anyway, shots of the action. I'm personally a fan of it. I love the fact we peer through little nooks and crannies to see the action, even having to kind of catch a glimpse over somebody's shoulder just to view a character. It is quite odd at first, but it does match the film's themes of spying and surveillance. One of my favourite moments is a stairway fight behind the Albert Hall, seen completely from a kind of distant telephoto lens view, and also through panes of a telephone booth. So So circling back to the plot, it's almost throwaway for the most part. The Ipcress audio tape is almost a Hitchcockian MacGuffin, an excuse to show us behind the curtain of the intelligence agency. The really interesting elements of the plot involve the people around Harry, his bosses, the dodgy lady in his life, and the never-ending onslaught of double and triple agents that he has to fend off.
Now get this. I'm going to tell you until I know you're clean. And if you're not clean, I'm going to kill you.
The film's very much in the kind of John le Carré, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy vein. That film also benefited from its protagonist, George Smiley, not having to ski off mountains or drive invisible cars to be entertaining. Now, the Ipcress File was written by Len Dayton in 1962 and featured a nameless protagonist, with Michael Caine coming up with the Harry Palmer title. Now, this film was the first of 3 60s Palmer movies, preceding Funeral in Berlin in 66 and $1 Billion Brain in 1967, and followed quite a bit later on by 2 more in 1995 and 1996, Bullet to Beijing and Midnight in St. Petersburg, neither of which I've seen. And to solidify some of the Bond comparisons that I've made, the film in fact shares a lot of James Bond connections, being produced by Harry Saltzman and the production being designed by famous Bond designer Ken Adam. It even features a really good jazz music score by the late great John Barry. So unfortunately a little bit overlooked these days, but the Ipcress File's a great little espionage thriller with enough twists and turns to keep it engaging. Undoubtedly, it's Sir Michael Caine's cocky agent that raises the film to must-see status. This was his first leading role after the previous year's Zulu, and it solidified him as the major star we know him as today. Go check it out.
I was counting on you being an insubordinate bastard, Palmer.
You used me as a decoy. I might have been killed or driven stark raving mad.